All
Hey
right.
guys,
How's everyone doing out there today?
doing good.
So, this
Yeah,
was an idea that we threw around in the chat yesterday. And if it's a little off the cuff tonight, eh, you know what? We'll just blame the holidays. This just as an announcement, this will be our last Wednesday show of the year because we have Christmas on next Wednesday and New Year's Day the day after that. So everyone's going to be off doing things with friends and family, which is good. So, with that,
that's grass.
yeah, exactly. With that, Nick, what is tonight's topic?
Well, this is your wife's one of her favorite things. Uh, Jesus is my boyfriend.
Yeah, one of her favorite things to hate on.
Oh yeah, was that kind of her idea? I think it was, or was it yours? I don't know.
So we were talking last night around dinner, and I just started going off on it, and then because we were talking about something else, I forget what it was, and then it came up. Oh, we were yeah no,
Well,
I do know what we were talking about. It was just personal family stuff. So and then it came up from that. So yes, I guess this is kind of technically my idea, but there's no notes tonight. We're winging it all.
so it's the concept that the best man out there, that's gonna come save captain save a. Sorry, I already said it. 30, for
Yeah,
yeah, I guess monetization. Even though talking about Jesus, right? That's
Well,
man bad.
isn't Jesus
Okay.
the ultimate Captain Save a 304?
Yeah, and he does, he does
but
forgive them. He does
he's
die
so
for their sins.
understanding. Isn't he,
Yes.
Nick? He's so understanding and compassionate.
Well, he knows all things. He's God. And
True.
he's sinless. He's the wisest man ever.
These things are true, yes. But okay,
But
what okay, then what happens when and we actually were talking before the show. We have a lot of different ways we're going to take this, but the question of the night is yes, Jesus is these things. I mean, God is all knowing, God is all seeing, God is all understanding. But what happens when we take those things and we, as humans, although this is mostly about women tonight, mostly, and we try to say, oh, this is the perfect man. This is the ideal. And I mean, I guess technically Jesus is ideal, but we
yes,
try
like
and then we try and make him ours. I think that's
hmm,
really what's going
Oh,
on here.
okay. That's a good prompt. Did God make us in his own image?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we remake God in our own image or the image that we want of God? Is
It's
that
called
not an
idolatry.
inversion?
That's the breaking of
Yeah. Is there a tendency
the
for
second
people
commandment.
to go to idolatry and make God in our own image?
Yes.
Is that kind of
That's
what's
talks
happening
about that
here?
in Romans chapter 1. Yeah. Nothing new under the sun.
Okay, Chief's
Oh,
already put up a Bible verse for you here, Nick, so I'll throw it up on the screen.
thank God. Jesus answered them. This is John 6:26. Truly, truly, I say unto you, you are seeking me, not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of the loaves. Oh. What's it talk about an adulteress? That something generation always seeks a sign. Something like that.
Well, if Jesus is a woman's boyfriend, he fed her, he met her needs, he
Mm,
provided. Therefore, Jesus is a great provider, which is true.
mm.
It Yes, these things are true. Okay, but okay. What happens when you make Jesus your boyfriend, though? What happens to you? What happens to women when they do that?
No man can compare to their boyfriend, Jesus. They have this mystic, special relationship that no man can understand. Jesus is their boyfriend.
Okay, but if Jesus, this one really it twists me about even theologically, because it's like if you're a man, if you're a man or a woman, men do this too in a different way, which we'll get into, and not as often. It's less common with men, but if you're a woman and I mean, all women are hypergamous. It's one of the core lessons of the not quite 8 minutes in yet. So one of the core lessons of the RP is that women are by their nature hypergamous. Okay, so we in the church correctly go out and teach women Jesus is God. He is all knowing, all seeing, all understanding, all compassionate, all forgiving, all. And all of that is true. Okay. What have we just built for those women?
The perfect man, I would guess.
Okay. But what does the now you are a
Shoo.
oh God, shoo. Oh
He's jumping the gun on us. He knows where we're going.
he does, and he knows where we're going. um so this mythic Christ becomes a
Oh,
surrogate for
false
hypergamy.
Christ. Mm.
I
No,
want
it's
to use the word
interesting.
surrogate.
And it's really,
Okay.
I'll say this boyfriend Jesus, there's actually some of the late medieval women mystics. Like Marjorie Kemp was one. There's some other ones. They started having like this mystic kind of almost romance fantasy, so-called visions with Jesus, where he was like their romantic interest, or they had such a union with Jesus that was almost kind of almost sexual, like boyfriend, husband, kind of nasty. So,
Okay, but Nick, I want to make something clear. When did that happen? Like, give us a year
that was
range.
that was like the I'll say 1300s to like 1500s.
Oh, so this is not
I
a
think Marjorie
new
Kemp was
thing.
one.
This is
No,
not a new thing.
let me make sure I know. I read her book. Yeah, so Marjorie Kemp was in 1373 to like 1438 or something like that. Yeah,
Okay, so we can look
yeah.
back 600 years and we can see women doing the same thing. So
Oh yeah.
what what they what they have done is they have created a surrogate for their ideal man. Now, I mean, yes, we all know that when we say Jesus is your
Yeah.
boyfriend, we're also they are saying that no man on earth can compare to them, and I believe that's because they have viewed Jesus as the hypergamous ideal.
And she abandoned her husband.
Of course, she did.
Oh, a lot of the church gave her like was all simping for her and promoting.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up, Nick, because
Uh,
every so there were different groups growing up in church. There were different groups, but the overt Jesus is my boyfriend group. I mean, these were the girls who were out there. They were doing Pentecostal shit
no-
and regular
nothing new.
we had to do the whole speaking and singing in tongues. We had to do.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I mean, and I never attended a Pentecostal church, and none of my friend group did. We were all old Anglican
mm,
Episcopalian derivative type stuff, but these girls were there, and they would do this. Every one of them is not currently married right now. One of them
Imagine
was
that.
married for a few years, and he very quietly disappeared from her Facebook. Never got the story on what happened and why she left, although the hints I've seen was she left, not. And thank God I
No,
dodged that bullet.
you know what? I bet you it has something to do with this. She complained, as Shu said, you're not as emotionally invested as Christ is. You're emotionally and verbally and blah 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 abusive.
Oh, Nick, do we do this? Do we do this next Shutai comment down here? This
Oh
latest
my
one?
gosh.
Do we go there?
What is that? Oh, Steve showed a picture.
Yeah,
So-
Steve showed a
Anybody
picture.
anybody come up with what this is?
Is that Cupid?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, is that
No, that's an angel.
Saint Valentine?
Okay, the woman. Let me try
No.
and zoom it in. See your face?
Yeah. The married men will recognize that face. Or
Okay,
the
so
previously
this
married men.
is this is a sculpture by Bernini. It's called, the title of it is The Ecstasy of Saint Therese of Avila.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yep, the medieval mystic struck again.
Okay, so you know what?
Like our modern day Pentecostal ladies.
I just wanted to put that out there
Oh my gosh.
to show that this is nothing new. Okay, and you know what? That's anti-Catholic. Put on the Catholic guy. So, you know what? This concept
The simping's got to
been
stop.
around for a long time.
Uh,
Of this spiritual ecstasy. Yeah, that was an angel. But okay, there is some eroticism of the spiritual that women are inclined to.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna go iconoclastic. I'm like, smash some statues.
So Nick,
Blasphemy.
I put it up there for you. This
Oh.
is the most recent Shutai comment here. Do you want me to read that, or
My
do you
gosh. You can read it.
so you don't get, so you don't have to wear that one, huh? So the comment is, so a Hillary Crowder, but in the Middle Ages. Oof. Shu, I'm gonna say it so that the other guys don't have to. You are correct. Marjorie Kemp is a Hillary Crowder for the modern age. And I mean, but okay, but here's the thing. Shu, okay, we've been laughing at this because the whole Crowder situation is a well-known sticky issue in the manosphere space. But the point is actually, if you've gone and researched the story, the point is very true. So Hillary Crowder, they were, they both claim that they were virgins when they got married. They waited for each other. They did everything Christian right. She was a, now I don't know if she ever actually said it, but if you listen to her story, she was very much of the Jesus is my boyfriend mindset. It was about being so pure and maintaining your and again, these aren't bad things, but all of a sudden, I mean, she marries Stephen. Okay, we're after 8 minutes. Stephen fucking Crowder. I mean, this guy's worth millions of dollars, has one of the most popular podcasts on YouTube, right? He's got okay, the guy has clout coming out his ears. And what does she do? Yeet. She pulls the ripcord on him, accuses him of things that we can't even say on YouTube, things that
Know what it's like.
Right.
So does Steve.
Right. Yeah,
Yes, I
exactly.
do. It
Ah,
happened to me.
oh man.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
She thinks that she's doing some brave thing. I don't know if she realizes just how common her tactics are and how many men there are who have had to live through the same fucking thing.
Bullshit. Hey, Marjorie Kemp's husband. Fuck, dude.
So you're saying that if we go back in history, we can find this exact same thing happening. Women
Yeah.
think they're so clever. Sorry, women, you're not.
Oh, but Mr. Priest, I had a vision of Jesus. Or Pastor. Pastor.
Oh, I just had another dark thought when you did that, Nick. Not even sure I want to
What?
bring that one up.
Uh-oh.
Why are there so many stories of women cheating with the priest?
Because he represents a hierarchy, clout, man up on the chain. That's also why in counseling they tell you not to do one-on-one with a woman and always have an escape route.
Well,
Oh,
to be fair, I don't know if there's any data to say that women have something illicit with a priest any more than they do with a pastor. I don't know that it
Well, I
happens.
just took it as both. I took it both ways.
It's the same.
yeah.
I think it's the
Yeah.
same.
Well, I get what I'm getting at is because I used the term surrogate earlier. Well, Jesus he is ideal and perfect. You know, and Steve, you were talking about the ecstasy or whatever the name of that, the Saint Teresa.
Ecstasy of Saint Therese of Avila.
Yeah. Okay, you were talking about that, and then Nick, you went, to the priest, and I'm saying, okay, these women, these Jesus is my boyfriend archetype women, they are okay. Well, I can't actually physically have Jesus because he's not here. So, what's the next closest I can get? It's going to be the pastor priest.
I don't know if they're thinking that.
I didn't say thinking.
I don't know if they're feeling that.
Okay.
I don't know if they make that connection.
I think it's more based just feelings of here's a man that understands me and being compassionate.
Okay.
You know, you might be right in some cases, but I don't think all women do the same thing for the same reason.
Oh, no.
Let's put it this way. They're pissed off at their husband, and wait, this guy's knows me and is better, and I don't know if they're comparing him to Jesus or not, but they're already on the outs.
I don't.
Chances are looking to Monkey Branch or of that mindset.
Well, the reason I say that is because as men, we want women's actions to be thought out. I don't think that's what's going on. I think, Steve, you're right. It's not all of them, but there is a large amount of cheating that goes on. And why would you choose the pastor? Well, in the hierarchy, in the natural hierarchy, or in the Christian hierarchy, he sits above. He's a leader of a group. He is he is the book. Did you guys ever read the Scarlet Letter in high school? Yeah.
What a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
What a bunch of crap.
No.
Totally
I know.
inaccurate historically. Yeah.
I know, but the it's like, and if I recall correctly, that was written by a woman too. I'd have to go look it up. I haven't read it in 20 years or more now, but more. So, but like that sort of mentality, right? That, you've got this guy, he gets up in front of people, gives speeches, he's a leader of men, he's a leader in the community. We know from base red pill teaching that is catnip to women. We know that. Okay.
So my first year of seminary, I was taking introduction to preaching and sanctification.
No.
And you know what happened during that time? He got caught cheating with the woman that they want to talk about Jesus. Adultery,
Well,
guys.
she's definitely saying his name, if you catch what I mean. And I looked it up. It was Nathaniel Hawthorne, so it was written by a guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, but like you see, that's the thing is, you're right, Steve. We don't have any hard data, and if you were to even ask everyone, as with most surveys on cheating, it's like, could you trust the answers you got? No. So,
Oh,
like, we're never going to get good data on this, guys. So I'm just throwing this out there, and it was just Steve and Nick, and I'm sitting here going, okay, like, the pastor's the next best thing.
yeah. He's also just in the secular sense, he's in a position of authority.
Right.
And women, since they're hypergamous, they always cheat up.
Correct.
In some manner. It doesn't mean he has to be a high status man. Maybe he's more compassionate. Maybe he's more free spirited. Doesn't have to be richer. Doesn't even have to have more authority,
Right.
although that's
Yes.
a big one. He has to be more of something that she wants.
Well, so as an example to that, Tom Brady, Giselle Bundchen, or whatever her name is, and she's cheating with the trainer.
Goat, man. The goat.
The goat, right? Yeah, exactly. The guy
This
is
guy's
in
top shelf.
Right. He's in peak physical form. He is worth $250 million. He is a simp mentality wise, right? And what does she do? She goes and knocks, shacks up with the trainer who's pulling 60 grand a year. So all these guys out there saying just get more money for women. Yeah, okay, fine. Tell that to the dude who banged Giselle, a Victoria's Secrets model, out from under Brady.
Okay, he had more dominance in this case, or more presence.
Right, exactly. Yes.
In other cases, SSM, do you guys watch his channel? Strong, Successful Male.
Yes.
He just did a story in the last couple of days about a woman who married a doctor, and she had an affair with a empathetic, compassionate man.
Gosh, was she on the pill?
He paid attention to her. And it was just so great. Destroyed her marriage. And then, of course, affair. Once she was on the outs with her husband, she realized, oh, damn, he was a high performer. He was the guy I really wanted. But, okay, every woman cheats up in some aspect of what she wants.
Right.
If you evaluate two men, one might be just way above the other. But in her mind, there's some aspect of him that's missing. So she'll go with the other guy because in some aspect, he's the better choice at that time.
Which, Steve, is a perfect analogy for why Jesus as a boyfriend is so seductive, because Jesus is superlative in all of these categories. And so these women don't need another guy, which is why they struggle in marriage or never get married, because every potential suitor cannot stack up. You've actually just described Jesus is my boyfriend in a nutshell of why it happens.
Yeah,
that's good.
That leads into something we talked about prior to the stream. In the 7 minutes we had to flesh out where we were going with this and plan it.
Pretty much.
Um,
Am I supposed to talk about the theological problems?
not yet. We'll get
No.
there. Okay, the question is the boyfriend Jesus the same for every woman? I mean, we've talked about this concept. There's the boyfriend Jesus, and there's a general stereotype. But each woman is an individual vision of Jesus as her boyfriend. Because after all, she is a special snowflake. She has unique desires. No one can know who she is except for Jesus. And Jesus is so compassionate in knowing that he's the perfect man for her. Therefore, the perfect man for her is not the perfect man for that other woman over there. So each individual woman's Jesus is uniquely special to her
Mhm.
in some aspect. Now, do you agree or disagree?
I mean, as far as how women take it, I would agree, and I would say that I get the sense where you're going with this, Steve, based on what we were just talking about, that the aspects that she is going to place the most attention on are going to be related to similarly how she views whatever either potential suitor or the man she's currently with is lacking.
Oh, yes. But that's not the biggest factor.
Well, okay, I'll let you say your big
It's
factor,
her
but I have a
baggage.
thought.
Her baggage. Which she doesn't want to go into. But every woman has baggage.
I guess.
Jesus knows what's in her baggage, and he's so understanding and forgiving. And he understands what she did. It might not have been so great, but he understands why she did it. And he's so forgiving and compassionate. So the Jesus she envisions is the Jesus that can forgive her for her baggage.
Okay.
Her
So
mistakes or her sins?
either
What?
both.
Let's just talk about sins. Let's just talking about baggage.
Yeah. Mm.
Oh, there's a whole lot of
Oh,
sins in
her
them
her
bags.
slip ups. Her slip ups.
Yeah, she accidentally slipped and fell onto that dick more than once.
He understands.
Okay.
No,
Now
actually,
there is an interesting corollary that kind of ripped through my mind as you were talking about this, Steve. Again, based on where the conversation has gone, this is going to be a wild one tonight, guys. Is it possible that Jesus is the ultimate cheat link, cheat hookup?
that's what we call a cheap Jesus. It's a false Jesus. It's
Well, I
an
mean,
effeminate,
like for cheating,
idolatrous Jesus.
right?
Oh,
Like for cheating,
okay, cheating. Oh,
like they're cheating on their husbands and their boyfriends with Jesus because look,
oh.
they can go to Jesus, say he's perfect, and like I love Jesus, Jesus, but because the men in their lives lack something, they can go to Jesus to get that thing, and he becomes kind of their guy on the side, except the center of their life. You know what I mean? It's like I don't
I
know.
do know what you mean, but let me point out something so we don't put this image in people's minds that she's thinking of sexual intercourse.
Right? No, no.
It's not that. Because I've talked about the mask and the phases of women when they're in their adventurous stage in their early 20s. Then okay, that's not doing it. Then they go into their purity stage to find a man,
Mm-hmm.
a husband. Problem is, in their purity stage, really don't want sex that much, except
Exactly.
maybe unless they
Exactly.
want a baby. So Jesus as my boyfriend, when he is the better man, they're thinking purity.
Right.
They're not seeking sexual adventure. So it's not a sexual Jesus. He's not that kind of guy. He's just that good friend, that BFF who is there, understands her
That
needs.
guy you can tell everything to. You can
Oh
pour your
yes,
heart
that
out.
right.
Guys,
It's not sexual.
guys watching, I want to point this out. We as guys tend to think sexually first. Now, I wasn't thinking that when I brought this up, but Steve, you're right on. This is for women, this is not a sexual thing. This is, but when I say cheating, it's like she is more willing to talk to Jesus about who she is really, right? You know, like about her deepest, darkest secrets, her deepest, her deepest sin. She, and she will say, "Oh, well, but I'm supposed to confess my sins to you." And so Jesus becomes kind of a place where you can go to emotionally cheat on your boyfriend so that you don't have to tell him all the dirty little things you did, all the dirty little thoughts you had, that you're really, because you can't have your boyfriend finding out that you're not pure. But Jesus is perfect and he perfectly understands. So you can tell him he is strong enough to understand you. That's the kind of
that's
go ahead.
so it's a Jesus that condones your continued deceit. Okay.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Also a Jesus who loves you for who you are.
Actually, Nick,
Whereas
not
a real
condones,
life what?
complicit. It's not condones. He's complicit in it.
Good. Sure. But a flesh and blood man only loves you for who you pretend to be. And she doubts if that real flesh and blood man would love her for who she actually is. So she won't tell him who she
Right.
actually is. But Jesus, he knows who I actually am.
Exactly.
He loves me for that.
He
But I
loves me
can't take the
anyway.
risk of telling my flesh and blood husband those things.
Okay, we have some comments to get to because we've been kind of ranting for a little while. We actually had one come in
Good.
from X. On the red flag for her was attending Calvin College. Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Chief, did Jesus understand, air quotes, the lowly servant that hid the talent? I think he understood. I think he probably still would have said, you evil, shoe.
Exactly.
But Shu has consistently figured out where we're going before we get there. So we have to give a shout out to Shu. But she doesn't listen when Jesus says, "Go and sin no more." And that's what I was getting at with the complicit thing. Jesus can listen. He will listen to me and he can forgive me and all this. They never get to the "and sin no more" part.
Steve, did you catch what I just did?
Washing your hands?
No,
Wiping your mouth.
wiping your mouth. Yeah.
I have done no sin.
It reminds me of something in Proverbs.
I'll pull it up.
And here's another one from Shu. Well, Nick is pulling that one up. Shu says, "I've seen priests discuss how women are more holy by being more receptive to the Holy Spirit, and that because of this, husbands need to listen." I can't even begin to describe how heretical that statement is. I'm sure Nick could try.
Oh, it's just saying that husbands, they're not wise. They're just bumbling Homer Simpsons dumbasses, et cetera, et cetera. They need to listen to the woman, the wise person, the adult in the room. It's bullshit. Okay, so King James Version, it's Proverbs 30, verse 20. I'll just read it. Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eateth and wipeth her mouth and saith, I have done no wickedness. Jesus is my boyfriend. Well, this is what the Bible says about you.
Her feelings trump any facts because the Holy Spirit is speaking to her or Jesus is speaking to her. And okay, that just trumps everything, including logic and reason and facts.
That's the Pentecostal, antinomian, Anabaptist, Quaker spirit, where you have this, oh, yeah, vision from Jesus that trumps everything else. Ignore everything else. Throw out reason. Throw out sanctification. No, I can do no wrong because the Spirit indwells me. So it's not really sin that I'm doing anymore.
Wait,
Well, in
what?
fact, no. Yeah, that's part of the antinomian Anabaptist thing where they could be like passively possessed by Jesus, and
Oh
a lot of women would
man,
start
you just
tweaking it out.
lost
And
that. You just lost that fraction of our viewership, if they were even
who
there.
gives a fuck?
I'm not sure. You know, Steve, the Anabaptists probably left our stream long ago, many episodes ago. I think we've been pretty harsh on them. But to that point, Jesus is my boyfriend is kind of a Pentecostal. You know, Nick, you said the indwelling of Jesus can. Ooh, oh my, you guys are just on fire today. The indwelling of the Spirit of Jesus could that not be a metaphor for? Oh God, can I even say that on YouTube? I'm not sure I can say that on YouTube. But women certainly do seem, yeah, yeah, no filter, Nick. Women certainly do seem rather enthralled by the idea of things entering them, shall we say. I think that's about as far as I can go on YouTube.
Yep, and Hutchinson.
Right.
Well, women are actively receptive.
That's well, except for the starfish women, but that's
And they don't want accountability. So this is a way to like escape accountability as well.
wait,
I can do no wrong. He loves me for who I am.
are you saying that Jesus is my boyfriend is an accountability cop out?
Yeah, in some ways. Yeah. I don't know if they think it thoroughly through that way, but yeah, it is. It ends up being that way.
Nick, I grew up around these girls. Don't I wouldn't describe a whole lot of conscious thought to what goes on in their heads. Just in general, okay? They're like, honest. I'm actually going to say this. The pastor's kid who was whoring herself out had more conscious thought than these girls. She knew what she was doing. She was active about doing it. She was strategizing how to do it.
But the other girls were just doing it. So what you mean?
No, the other girls weren't thinking about it at all. It was just full of the emotion of Jesus dwelling in me. There's, because we talk about how women feel. Like it's not that they don't think, it's not that they don't ever think rationally. If a woman wants something, she can think about strategies to get it. Now, that strategies usually involve some form of opening her legs, as the red pill teaches. But the woman, like the pastor's kid I knew, who was basically begging any guy to take her, she approached it with strategy. She approached it with guile. She thought about who she was going after, how she was going to go after them. She modified her approach to all this. Okay. She actually put effort and thought into it. I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm just saying, That's what I'm saying, Nick. I didn't see that level of thinking out of the Jesus is my boyfriend girls.
Oh, they just kind of the ditzy Jesus is my boyfriend. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, we've been talking about feelings and whatnot all night, and I think that's a lot of that is in this. Jesus just it just feels good to say Jesus is my boyfriend. I have the
No,
best
you should
boyfriend in
love
the world.
Jesus. You should love Jesus. You should have a heart after God, but he's not your boyfriend. It's blasphemous to say so. He's not, he is the husband, the bridegroom of the church.
So if
And
Jesus
he's not
is
and he's not polygamous.
so what you're saying is Jesus wouldn't cheat on the church with you, the woman.
No. No.
Oh, okay. That's there's ways and places we could take that get pretty dark for the women too. It's like, so basically you're asking Jesus to cheat. Congratulations, you're an actual literal whore.
Oh my God. Yeah, fake
Steve.
Jesuses. This is idolatry, guys. This is a fake Jesus. This is a buddy Jesus that just accepts everything, you know? Hey,
Buddy
effeminate
Christ.
Jesus. There's even like one in Brookings, South Dakota, they call it touchdown Jesus. He's like, ugh. Long hair, soft, always loving, understanding, forgiving everything, even the worst things with no contrition. That Jesus.
It,
Everything's just hey, okay, you know. There's no
it
standards.
isn't the long haired Jesus because my understanding is he would have actually probably had something like short curly hair. Like,
Probably. I don't know how short it would have been, but not long flowing hair.
right. I mean, just genetically, short curly hair would have been the thing in the Middle East at the time.
We talked about this before.
This hurts me.
Yeah, I'll remove it. Okay, so we talked about how women kind of, I imagine that women have a vision or an imagination of the physical Jesus and more about his person and who he is and his emotions and his understanding. And I don't. And Nick doesn't because he said that. No, he just looks at what Jesus said and applies that. So there's just kind of a void of what did Jesus look like? How did Jesus feel? As a man, I don't care what he looked like. I don't care how Jesus felt.
Well,
I
I
just
do if
care
it's written in
what
here.
did he
I do if it's
teach?
written.
What did he say? No, that's not his feelings. His
Well,
feelings
it talks
don't
about
matter.
he
It's what
wept.
he said.
He was troubled within himself. That's
Okay,
important.
yeah, I
It's
But
understand
they're
that.
well regulated.
well,
His feelings are regulated by truth.
and it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that, being troubled, being in sorrow, being
Yeah.
so distraught, you're sweating blood. Oh yeah, I understand that. But I'm not dwelling on what's going through his head when he challenges Nicodemus or when he meets the women at the well. I'm just going on what his words said. We're not
It's
into
engaging them with the
what,
truth.
right. But, the time, Catholics call it the Passion, which was the time basically from Palm Sunday up through his crucifixion. And yeah, we are supposed to understand the agony and all that stuff. But I guess I don't really go through his identify or think about his emotions and feelings prior to Palm Sunday. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm just kind of reflecting on
I
it
would say,
right now.
well, that's your tradition, and that's probably where that's placed in your tradition. I understand that, but all of Scripture is God breathed and profitable for instruction, reproof, and instruction in righteousness. The man may be thoroughly complete. Yeah. So when it Jesus, there are there's proper godly regulated emotions, and you can see where they go astray. Not you can see this in the epistles, the Old Testament, the law, etc. You also see it in the Gospels prior to Passion Week. So,
Well, yeah, I agree
but
with
it's
that.
subjective, and there's
I
a
just
standard.
don't.
It's not contrary to truth.
Okay, maybe you're misunderstanding. I understand emotions and all that things in an impersonal way, in an abstract way, and I can take them into myself. I don't identify with the personal emotions in the same way. Men and
You
women
can't complete.
describe emotions differently and they feel emotions differently. I mean, I just look at it as a man. Yeah, I understand that emotion. And I reflect on that. That doesn't mean I feel the emotion at the time I'm understanding it.
Oh, okay. So just because you see it in Scripture doesn't mean that you're currently feeling what
Correct.
was represented, that emotion. Okay, that's fine.
But I think a lot of
Although,
women do.
once you go through it, you can identify partially as Christ went through it before us.
Absolutely.
Sure, yes.
Doesn't mean it's exact. Probably not. But there's a similarity. As long as you're not doing it in sin,
Absolutely. That's why
Well,
suffering has meaning because it allows you to identify with things that you otherwise couldn't.
Right.
and there's the other point that I think needs to be made here is that, and we were talking about this before the show, and I asked the guys, do you guys, when I say the word Jesus, or when I think about Jesus, do I imagine him as a, do I have like a specific visual conception of him? Right? Like, Steve put up the long-haired Buddy Christ, right? Like, there are definitely people who do have a this sort of visualization of who Jesus was. But when I talk to people like Nick, or even my pastors before, none of them ever talked about him as, as if his physical appearance was all that relevant. But here's an interesting thought. If Jesus is your boyfriend, what you're saying is that he has a specific appearance. Oh, I've just sent.
I'm going to let them down. Can I let them down? Oh,
as long as you do it in the
okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, the Bible. This is like 700 years before Christ. It's Isaiah 53 says, "And who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant and as a root out of dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him." Ooh. He is despised and rejected of man, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Oh, no form nor comeliness that we should desire him. I guess he's not the super Chad.
Oh God,
I was just going to say that.
Well, okay, but now we can turn our focus away from the girls a little bit. The girls,
Yeah.
they do have their, my God, when you talk to them, they practically they make a hagiography out of them. But okay, ripped, rich, and roided Jesus. Yeah, sorry, boys, that's not a thing. Jim
You
Bro
really
Jesus.
think it was?
Jim Bro Jesus. Sorry, not a thing. I'm not going to say he was weak because he was a carpenter's
It was
son.
not.
But he wasn't ripped. He wasn't bulked. He wasn't. He would have probably been like a lot of people back then.
He fasted a lot too.
Yeah. He probably would have been more on the wiry side of things. Just muscle and bone, and not a whole lot else. But that gets
certainly
Go ahead.
he was over 6 feet, wasn't he?
Probably not.
Based on what we know, just looking at others, no, he's probably about 5. I want to say 5'9", 5'10". That would have been the average back then.
No, 5'9", 5'10". Hey, that's the average for the U.S. Given our current diet,
Yeah, you're right. Maybe
the
5. What, 5'8"?
average in that time, based on diet and everything, and people in the Middle East, 5'6" was probably average.
Okay.
Maybe 5'7". He might have been up to 5'8". But you know what? You look in China right now. Women just they don't care about a 6-foot man. They just want a man who's about 5'8", 5'9".
Yep.
Okay, so no, Jesus was probably not 6 foot tall.
Did Jesus not have the washboard abs too?
No, it's probably not.
Probably not.
He might have had abs considering how skinny he probably was, but
Fair. Well, but so, but that goes back to what Isaiah was saying. He was not this good-looking Giga Chad meme. He wasn't.
No.
Skinny, wiry, not weak. I'm not going to say that because he was a
He
carpenter's
was not
son.
weak.
Yeah, he was a carpenter's son,
Yeah.
and the Bible does say that he did learn the trade from his dad. Like he did build things. Like I forget exactly where that is, but I want to say Luke, but it talks about, there's a little bit where it talks about he would have learned and he would have been building furniture with his dad. So no, not weak, but he does not have, your super gunned out traps and lats. And, he wasn't, he didn't lift 300 pounds, bro. I mean, we're not saying that fitness is bad. What we're really trying to say is that these visions of Jesus, I mean, aside from being abominations in their own right, are essentially an attempt for humans to create a perfect vision of themselves.
To the word and to the testimony. Yeah.
That whole Jesus is your boyfriend concept, since it's a purity-minded woman who is looking at that or envisioning this, he's probably not imagining him the Chad that she's sexually attracted to.
No, it's the build a better beta.
Yes, the touchy-feely Jesus, who just is so understanding and knows her and will give her a hug when she needs it.
And he's probably he's probably clothed in flowing white robes, so there wouldn't be a lot, like in her mind, so there wouldn't be a lot of like muscle to see, right? Like you're talking about Chad, like, because I'm thinking of how these women draw, like if you the iconography of this stuff, they draw long flowing fair hair. His face is soft, They use soft tone is not angular, which is actually just wrong for Middle Eastern faces. And but it's soft, and he the the one thing I do notice is, and he probably actually did have a beard if I recall my Middle Eastern history correctly, but they
Oh
tend
yeah,
to
because they plucked his beard out
right.
at during during the last 3 days after Pontius
Right.
Pilate, they plucked his beard out. So yes, he had a beard.
But they tend to do it more as a stubbly, not like it probably would have actually been, which would have been much longer. I think people today forget that the constant grooming that we do was not a feature of this era in time. Haircuts would have been rare. Beard trims would have been rare.
So let me contrast the
There's a-
image of Jesus with the image of Saint Michael the Archangel. You guys probably can bring to mind the image of Saint Michael the Archangel. Super masculine, muscular, quite the stud, a six-pack, just all powerful. A beautiful man. He's a Chad. That's not the image of Jesus.
I'll tell you what the image of Jesus is, though, in So, by the way, he died on the cross and didn't. He also he rose from the dead on the third day. He ascended and is glorified. His glorified body is reflected in Revelation. His enthroned glory in the Revelation of St. John. His head, and in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. And his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. And his voice was the sound of many waters. And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength. When I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not. I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death.
Yeah, this isn't the soft, flowing robes, kind smile Jesus. And this is a Jesus I would be kind of scared of, honestly.
He fell at his feet as dead. He approached the Holy One.
Yeah.
Jesus is very man and very God. Don't forget that. Yes, he is the perfect man. Yes, he is kind. Yes, he is merciful. But he also had a whip of cords. He overturned tables. He will throw people into the everlasting fire on the last day, those who do not repent. He does chasten nations. He will smash them in pieces with a rod of iron. Yeah, that's Psalm 2. And it's repeated throughout Scripture. Yeah, Jesus is good. Jesus is merciful, but he's also holy, just, all-knowing, and perfect.
Well, Nick, that sounds really scary. But doesn't
Well, he
every
fell at
man...
his feet as if dead.
Okay, I understand that. But doesn't
Yeah.
every man have that within him? You can be a kind to your wife. Put a newborn baby in a man's arms, his newborn baby, and man,
Jesus
he
did
just
that. Yeah.
melts. And he can be the kindest, gentlest man. But
Yes.
someone threatens him, or if he needs to go to war, he can be fearsome and ruthless.
Yes.
I mean, every man should be able to understand that. Just because you're compassionate in some areas, you can be absolutely ruthless in other areas when it's called for. Righteous anger is a thing.
Yes.
And Nick knows about that.
Oh, I do.
I think we're getting
That's
a little
big
bit of it
mistake
tonight.
a lot of ladies make. It's like, oh, you're so nice. I'm like, no, I'm kind. And then they start, then they see another part of me. They're like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, you took my kindness for granted. Now you can see a different part of me. It's
So
measured,
Steve,
though. It is measured,
So, Steve, I'm just going to throw this
Yeah.
up on the screen because I went and found a picture of, or it's a picture of an actual statue of Saint Michael, probably somewhere from Italy. But I see what you're talking about. That's a pretty good looking
Yeah.
dude.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, I'll take that down now. I just wanted to throw that up there so that people could get a visual for what Steve was saying. Um, I when I think back, my relationship with Elena, I've always been into long distance hole punchers, but she really didn't understand what it meant till I took her out to the range and then I put her through some classes, and it wasn't until we got to the rifle class where I'm just cleaning house with her. Just comparing our accuracy and we had a shot, like a shot timer and stuff like that. And she was like, "Holy shit, this dude could kill somebody." It's like, "Yes, I can." And I never have. I don't ever want to. But she saw for the first time a guy who she knew was not a bad guy do something that could be used to terrible effect. And for you men out there, I think we have misplaced I think we have misplaced high value men and we've misconstrued high value men for high quality men. Okay. But I think that this is an aspect of that. High value kind of speaks to net worth and not much else. I mean, yes, we use the term values to describe morals, but uh, and I think this gets back to the church is the relationship between Jesus and the church is supposed to be a model for us. Women, you are not supposed to make Jesus your boyfriend. You are supposed to find a man who can be like Jesus. He's still going to be a man. He's still going to fail, right? But Nick read Revelations, and like there's a sword coming out of his mouth. Well, a sword is a weapon of war, but he gently reaches down, puts his hand on the back of this is John, right? Writing this, right? Okay, that's the duality of man, and as a woman, that's what you should be chasing after. That is the man that you seek. This Jesus is my boyfriend thing is and women, I'm going to say this. I know lots of men who can do what I did. I am not special. I am not unique. When you are saying Jesus is my boyfriend, you are saying all those other men out there who you knew were out there, who you knew could do this. I have been into long distance hole punchers since I was 6, and my dad gave me a pellet hole puncher. Okay. An air puncher. Okay. All these girls I grew up with knew I was a Boy Scout, knew that I had actually achieved things they all knew I could do it. It scared them. And so what did they do? They ran away.
Bad.
Yeah, exactly. Man bad. I was scary. Now, this is not the only reason I was scary to them. I also didn't take their bullshit, but which is also, as Nick was saying, is a great way to scare a woman. Look, women, you should be scared of your man. You should be scared of men. That is a good thing. That is a healthy thing. Men are dangerous, but they're not bad for it. And Jesus isn't better. Jesus is everything that man should be. The Jesus of Revelations is the man, everything that man should be. He should be that. compassionate warrior, with the sword coming out of his mouth.
Well, there's
Am I wrong, Nick?
Yeah. And he says, "Fear not." He said that. I believe he said the same thing at his. The angels said the same thing when they came to the empty tomb to the women that came by.
Yeah.
Everybody was terrified, right? They should be, like the angels and the empty tomb, and
Yeah, that's
fear
something to be
not,
afraid of.
fear not, fear not.
but women are
Notice they didn't say
also
that to the unbelieving Gentile guards there.
but
I
most
think
women
they're
are also attracted to dominant masculine men. That's the Chad. And a
Yeah.
scary man. Yeah. Even who's the latest? Luigi
Well,
uh,
Malone or
or whatever.
Last name.
Mangione or whatever.
Yeah.
The women are fawning over him. A lot of them. Okay, he's a dangerous man, and they want him. He looks good, and he's capable of violence. So, on some aspect, women fear that. A certain kind of women fear that. Other women are attracted to that. So, again, the woman who invents this concept of Jesus as my boyfriend, I believe she's in her purity stage.
Or Steve, is
So
she on birth control?
no, we're not going there yet. She invents
Okay.
She invents a safe
Go back.
Jesus. But okay, Nick brought up birth control. And I was just listening to some of that today. So here's the book. This is Your Brain on Birth Control by Dr. Sarah E. Hill. And she talks about this. And a Legion of Men YouTube channel just put a short video up today about interview she did. So she actually mentions that birth control affects how a woman's brain works. And she talks about it. She's highly educated. She said something like, "Yeah, I came across this, and birth control was great because I could go through all my studies and not be worried about pregnancy, and I could focus on." And I went off birth control, and all of a sudden, boom, man, it's like the world woke up for me, and I had a greater sex drive, and I was thinking about different things, and it was amazing. It was different. She thought differently after she got off birth control. And I can tell you exactly, my first wife, I met her on birth control while she was on birth control. She remained on birth control until we got married. Then she went off birth control. And when we tried to, or she tried to get pregnant, tried to have a baby, never was successful. She never had any, she didn't like my smell. She didn't like much about me at that stage. He was just yuck. I don't want to be around this guy. And I'm saying that in retrospect. I understand it now. Her mind changed about her supposedly ideal man from birth control to being off birth control. So, okay, let's just take the man out of the picture. A woman in her 20s on birth control, having her fun, her adventurous stage. Okay, whether she comes into the church and gets baptized and, born again virgin, whatever, Jesus understands, whatever. Even if she's quits birth control or keeps birth control, That's affecting her hormones, which greatly affects her thought processes and sexual desire. So I believe the image that a woman forms of who Jesus is, who her boyfriend Jesus is affected by that experience and by those hormones.
Okay, so I want to comment on this a little bit because all of my stories were I grew up with these people, these children. I hesitate to call them women, and to my knowledge, none of them were ever on birth control because they were so on fire for Jesus that there was never any real risk of them getting themselves into a situation where a physical man would be present, and they of course they didn't believe in birth control, and they all thought it was a bad thing, and so like all of the standard Christian sort of motives were in play. However, where I think Steve's point comes into play is cases like the Reformed women who come to the church out of their hoe phase into their purity or security phase, and all of a sudden, I mean, just like we talk in the secular world, on birth control, women want the more effeminate guy, and then off birth control, they want the more Chad guy. Why would that not affect how they perceive Jesus? And a lot of women who come to the church out of their hoe phase, they're on birth control when they do it. And now, Steve, I don't know how many of them would get off birth control just because they came to the church. I based on what I saw, that's not that common.
If they've given up their promiscuous life, they have no need for birth control. I have no data, no knowledge whether they remain on birth control, but I know that women generally do something for a while and then they change and don't do it for a while. So if they're done with their promiscuity, their whole phase, they may say, okay, I don't need this anymore. I have a new person in Christ. I'm giving up that lifestyle. Therefore, I don't need to do it. And their thinking process, the way they think will change. And they won't be aware that it changes because no one talks about this. It's theoretical. I can't say, I'm not saying everything is determined by this. I'm just saying it's a factor.
They're also not looking for the guy that they have the tingles for. They're looking for their biological clock is ticking. Perhaps they started to realize this and they're trying to get some kids. A lot of their friends are starting to pop out babies. They want to join the sisterhood with babies. So they find a beta provider. He could be a Chad guy, could not be, who knows. But the Chad guy is not the top of her list. It's not the tingles that's on the top of her list. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's the guy that they think would be a suitable father material that could provide for her lifestyle plus give her kids.
Generally, there's two types of men, and in women's minds, there's two types of men. The Chad guy and the stable, smart, good provider guy. The stable, smart, good provider guy, nah, he's not the man who gives you the tingles. He's safe. Whereas Chad is exciting. And it's rare to find both aspects in the same man. How can you be safe and exciting at the same time? Because exciting is kind of like Oh, he's a little bit dangerous. Ooh, tingles. Oh, he's safe. Oh, comfort. It's like snuggling up in bed with the blankets over me. That's not excitement. Sorry.
Nope.
Well, this goes back to what I said early on in the stream, that, and it's kind of been a running theme throughout the stream. These women look at Jesus and go, and I think this is where we hear a lot of women saying, "Oh, these guys ain't shit." Jesus is both of those things. He is that perfect duality of the warrior and the comforter. And a lot of these women, particularly if they're coming in from the outside world in their late 20s, early 30s after their hoe phase, they're coming in having experienced both. These women will, how many times it's a fucking trope now of the woman who does the Chad, then goes back to the beta comfort guy, when Chad inevitably breaks her heart, and then she
Beta
gets
orbiters.
yeah, she picks an orbiter, and then she gets bored with him, and it's back to the next Chad, and right. So these women know, and so when there's an aspect here when women are saying guys aren't shit, what they're saying is whether they're Christian or not, they aren't Jesus. And I think that's a little bit of where Jesus is my boyfriend comes from. Is he is that perfect being, and yes, Steve, the birth control changes how they view things, and it probably, like for some women, it's going to make them more promiscuous to be off of it. For some, it's going to make them less. The data says that it's highly biology dependent, but we do see both happen. So, but
Yeah.
what do you want to bet that it's just whatever they were on birth control, they're going to be the opposite off? So if birth control made them less promiscuous, because like you were saying, oh, she was just focused on her studies, and all of a sudden, and then she goes off birth control and she wakes up and, oh, I want sex. There's actually quite a few girls out there like that who are kind of frigid on birth control.
And she talks about that in her interview.
Yeah.
The long interview. It's like 2 hours long. It's pretty good.
Well, but
just look it up. I'll say her name again. Dr. Sarah Hill. You know what? To be honest, I find her a very attractive woman. Not a 10, but I have a thing for smart women who are articulate, because I want to, if my perfect woman, I can engage with on a mental basis. She has to be pretty damn smart. And this woman is. She's not ugly. So, yeah, okay. I'm not saying she's a perfect woman for me, but she has a lot of the traits of a woman that, hey, yeah, I like this woman. I'm attracted on a theoretical basis. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, whatever. But you brought up something, Plutarch. Is Jesus, my boyfriend, have the same traits as a perfect beta orbiter?
I think the conception of these women is yes, he's comforting, he's soft, he understands them completely. I mean, it's for you millennial women out there, it's Notebook Jesus, referring to the movie The Notebook, right? Um, like, yeah, he is those things with a sword coming out of his mouth and fire in his eyes, like so Yeah, yes, I think that's how the women are conceiving of him when they say that. And but the thing that always gets me though, and I come back to is I'm thinking back to the girls I interacted with. Not a one of the boys that was interested in them or they were interested in, I would have considered anything other than a beta. And I mean deep beta. Remember, these are boys who grew up in the church with the complementarian programming in play.
Servant leadership.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to wash her feet. You got to do this. You can never rebuke her.
Right.
Always,
So
no, never make any decisions without her at all.
so these girls had that in front of them. They had that conception in front of them. And I
That
didn't see
bullshit.
them I didn't see them saying, "Oh yeah, I need my Jesus to be more Giga Chad." But they did like that he was a stronger man of principle. So
Well,
they didn't conceive him as Chad. They conceived him as a man of strong will and principle and moral, correctness, which is he is. But
hey, Nick,
Oh, moral principle against the men, right?
well,
Nick,
yeah,
I was
Yeah.
watching the whatever stream a few months ago, and this woman mentioned the story of Jesus washing a prostitute's feet. Could you tell me about that story, please?
No. Are you talking about the prostitute wiping Jesus' feet with her
No,
tears?
I'm talking about Jesus washing the prostitute's feet.
Okay. Mm, nah. Mm,
Okay.
I don't think that's in the Bible.
Okay. Bingo. Yeah, that's the
That's why I
answer.
couldn't recall. I'm like, I remember the
Okay.
prostitute supposedly white.
Okay.
I don't know if some people take that interpretation.
Who did a woman wash Jesus' feet?
Yes. Yes. That's what
Did
I
she
thought you were talking about.
perfume?
I was like, wait a minute.
Did she perfume Jesus' feet?
Yes.
Did she weep on his feet?
Yes.
Did she dry his feet with her hair?
Yeah.
Okay. Did Jesus wash feet of his disciples?
Yes.
Did Peter try and refuse?
Yes.
Did Jesus ever wash the feet of a woman?
Don't think so.
Okay. So, yeah, a woman remembers things and it gets jumbled around. And, oh, yes, Jesus was egalitarian and he served women. No, not really. Women served Jesus. They humbled themselves before him. He humbled themselves before other men. You can't mix and match this. But if you don't know your Bible and you don't know your Bible stories, you can convolute them and invent the Jesus that never existed.
Well, he did honor his mother, right? At the wedding of Cana. Cana. Right? Turning the water into wine.
Okay, he listened to his mother.
Mhm.
And Protestants would say he did not honor her because he called her woman.
No.
What are you to me? But remember, This,
That's
you got to go
English.
back
That's
to
the same-
Genesis, where God, when the woman sinned, he called her woman.
right. There's
And
nothing wrong with that.
that,
No.
and nothing wrong. And then,
Mm.
okay, you got to bring it forward to the wedding at Cana, and he said, woman. So the sin came into the world through the woman, and the ministry of Jesus started with the woman. So the same word comes up there to bring you back to, it's like bookends. So Mary, yeah, woman, who are you to me? But he listened to her, and he went along with that, and that prefigures, or I don't know what the right word is. It draws us back to Genesis. So you have to know all these stories in context, because the New Testament fulfills the Old Testament, and they're meant to be read together or
And
understood
it's
together.
also looking towards the eschaton as well, the final wedding, the marriage feast of the Lamb. There's also that.
True enough. Yeah. Well, isn't that
We're
what
getting off topic.
what did Jesus say on the cross
I told John to look after
before
his
he
mother.
died?
Told John to look after his mother Mary. Right?
No, right before he died. What were his last words?
It is finished.
Uh-huh. What's another way of saying that? It is consummated. Consummation is what we do in sexual union. The wedding supper of the Lamb is a wedding. There is the sacrifice. Christ was the sacrifice.
Mhm.
So there is an analogy to consummation, the man dying for the woman, the sexual union, bringing forth life. Don't get all twisted up in the eroticism of this, because God is beyond that. It's a tapestry, and the saints delved into these things, and they weren't squeamish about it. I don't care if you agree with me, but I'm not going to eroticism here. I'm just saying, hey, these things weave together. I don't know if Nick agrees with me. Probably doesn't matter. It's not a critical matter.
I don't know. I've never thought of it that way. But it's it's a covenant, blood. The covenant also relates to marriage. Of course, Adam and Eve reflect Christ and the church. So all marriage is supposed to reflect Christ and the church and the wedding feast of the Lamb. It's a tapestry, it's all woven together. But interestingly, anyways, Shutai has a good comment here. Again, do you have a problem of thinking in one dimension, or pitting the attributes of God, or pitting the personhood of Christ against himself? He says women love to refer to Christ as a lamb, but never the lion also. Yes, he's both. He's both.
Well, do they do that because and we've talked about this. The women are afraid of the lion. Like, I mean, we've heard this whole man versus bear thing, right? And the women all say they would take the bear. But if you actually put them in front of a bear, what are they going to do? They're going to start screaming their fool heads off for a man to come rescue them, right? And so,
Uh-huh.
yeah, shoo, you're absolutely right. The women always refer to the Lamb of God, the sacrificial lamb. You hear all of this, but and maybe this is a failing of church teaching, of not focusing on Christ the warrior, Christ the lion, Christ the, I mean,
King. Three offices: prophet, priest, and king.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're so focused on
Yeah.
prophet and priest that I mean, do people think that kings were some sort of benevolent dictators who just felt their, like, what did you think kings did? They launched wars. They ravaged lands. They were the final arbiters of all disputes amongst their land. Right? They could unilaterally sentence you to death for your crimes. There was no jury, and right, and there was no judge and jury. There was just the king said, you know what? I believe you screwed up, so off with your head. Right? Like, what do these women think that God is? When it's like, okay, you want Jesus to be your boyfriend. Okay. The guys are all sitting here going, why?
What makes you think? What makes you think you're good enough to to get it?
Oh, that's a whole nother, that's female solipsism and just that. Yes, that we could probably do another half an hour on just how women think that. Well, but it goes back to Steve talking about the purity phase.
Right.
By claiming, I think it's by claiming Jesus as their boyfriend, they're claiming that they are as pure as the Virgin Mary, despite the fact that they are very likely just absolutely run through. And yes, Steve, I did want to specifically invoke the Catholic image of the Virgin Mary because, because I do believe that these women think that that's what they're invoking when they say that they can take Christ's purity onto themselves and become the archetypal Virgin Mary. I mean, shit. Where does the concept of the secondary virginity come from? Like, that's how bad they want it. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
That is, okay, as a Catholic, that is so twisted.
I know.
Because Catholics, okay, most people don't know this. Who was the Immaculate Conception?
I'm Protestant.
Mary, no. They believe Mary was immaculately conceived, right? Catholic.
Okay. You ask most people, and yeah, you don't believe it. I understand that, Nick. Most people say
No.
the Immaculate Conception was Christ. No, Catholics believe the Immaculate Conception was Mary. She has a title, the Immaculate Conception. She was the one and only person since the fall that was conceived without sin. Christ, his salvation, saved her, but since time is not material to God, he saved her before she fell, so she was conceived without sin. Okay. You don't have to agree, but my point is that Catholics believe Mary was conceived without sin. So how can any other woman claim to be like Mary? She's the one and only. Now, I know Protestants don't agree with that. Fine. That's not my point here. But any
She was a
woman who
godly woman.
thinks she can be like Mary, you cannot. Okay, let's negate that. Archangel Gabriel came to Mary and said, yes, you're going to conceive the Christ. What did Mary say?
Behold the handmaiden of the Lord.
Yeah, well, she named an Italian car. What?
No, you got a Latin word here.
What's the
I forgot
Latin?
what it is.
Fiat.
We've fiat, let it be. Yeah, so be it.
Let it be done unto me. Fiat.
Yeah.
Okay. He accepted that and all the hardship. And, he probably was told that, yeah, this is not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of suffering. Do you agree to doing this? Are you accountable? Will you accept what you're doing? And choose the hard path? And she said yes. Do these women who pretend that they want to be like Mary, do they give their fiat to God? Do they accept the suffering that comes from it?
No, they don't.
I mean, none of them could be even close to Mary. Even, okay, in the Catholic sense, absolutely not. In the Protestant sense, no. Hell no.
No, but as I said last time, and then they want to be treated like these like freaking angels. And guess what? They'll get with a Christian man, and treat him worse than a pagan. In 1 Peter 3. So I'll make this connection. Besides Mary, there's Sarah, right? Here's an example. St. Peter cites her as an example in 1 Peter 3. Says, likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, means that he's not a believer, right? They also may be won, may without the word, without their word vomit, be won by the conversation. That's the behavior of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation. Again, that's behavior coupled with fear, whose adorning, let it not be that of outward adorning of plaiting the hair, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, and that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also, who trusted in God, adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Oh, so the Virgin Mary was this to like the perfect degree, right? Nonetheless, Sarah's a good example. And okay, Jesus is your boyfriend, or you might even be married, but you treat him like dog shit.
Well,
But if
Nick,
he wasn't a pagan, wait. So he's not even so the guy. This is talking about not even having a Christian husband. But if he's Christian, all of a sudden he can be treated like dog shit. Okay, that makes perfect sense. You fucking egalitarian, complementarian bullshit, motherfucker. Fuck you.
Can I build upon this?
Oh yeah.
Okay. In the Catholic sense, they believe Mary was conceived without sin. He married Joseph. She never had sexual relations with him, is what Catholics believe. She was held in high esteem. Catholics believe Mary is Queen of Heaven. She was the greatest woman ever born. She was astounding. Yet, Joseph was a good man,
She was.
but Mary was a greater woman, the greatest woman that ever lived. And she was submissive to Joseph.
Yes.
Protestants would even agree with that. Maybe not
Yeah.
to the extent that Mary was sinless and all that stuff, but yet she put herself under Joseph. Oh, no, that can't be right. Yeah, bullshit. Jesus was God. From the time he was conceived, he was always God. To believe otherwise is a heresy. And
Oh.
who was Jesus under the authority of? Joseph. God put himself under the authority of a man. And so are you going to try and tell me that Mary was an equal to Joseph and it was a partnership? No.
The
It was
fuck
a
outta here.
marriage. Joseph was in authority over Mary. Joseph was in authority over God, Jesus, the Son.
Okay. So you want to talk about Mary? We're talking about boyfriend Jesus. Okay, so Christian women, something my boyfriend is Jesus. So Mary is the best Christian woman ever, right? And incest is forbidden. Uh, what the fuck was Mary's son also her boyfriend? Get the fuck out of here!
Clearly not. Clearly
Get the
not.
fuck out of here! Do not pass go. Kick your ass down to heresy level, and I hope you repent. That's
Well,
blasphemy.
see, there's
If you
there's
would
an
take it to
interesting
that degree, right?
there's an interesting sort of meta look at this, and that is the sophistic nature of this position. Like if you, I mean, we've been at this for an hour and 40 minutes now, and this is a pretty deep dive on the topic that I can guarantee you not a single woman who's ever uttered those words strung together has come close to doing 10% of the thinking we've done on it. Okay. But the only way you can get to the bottom of just how retarded these arguments are is to sit here and go through it like we have tonight. And these women aren't doing that. But what you're seeing is the sophistry of the positions that these women are taking. They're not thinking, oh, yeah, they're not thinking to the logical conclusion of, oh, yeah, I'm basically, saying that Mary would have committed incest because Jesus had to be her boyfriend too. And that is a little bit of an argumentum ad absurdum, but not much.
Yeah.
Right? It's an illustrative argument. Like no one here, and even these boyfriend Jesus women would think that she did that because of course she wouldn't have done that, and they know that. And so we're making these arguments not because we think that that's what actually happened, as the women on these podcasts love to try and accuse us and those like us of doing, but to prove that the point that women, and this is why I was said early in the stream, I don't think there's a whole lot of thinking that these women are doing in general about what they're actually really saying. I think all women are hypergamous by their nature, and they were made that way for good reasons, but they have poor Christian foundations, even if they attend quote unquote good churches with strong quote unquote pastoral leadership. And yet they still get to these sophistic, retarded views because the church won't the church won't sit down with them and say, that's retarded, here's why.
Feelings.
Exactly. We're not willing to hurt women's feelings anymore. And so you end up with heresy walking around in your church, and it's not intentional. Like these women don't know that what they're saying is abomination, which is how I would classify the incest argument. Is they're making an argument for abomination, and they don't realize that that's what they're doing, and their pastors, whether or not they do or not is questionable in many cases, but there's some pastors out there who get it, but like none of them are stopping it. None of them are checking these women and saying, no, Jesus is not your boyfriend. He is your ruler, he is your Lord, he's your king, but he is not your boyfriend. Your boyfriend is down here on earth.
Oh, Plutarch, you're advocating violating the 11th commandment.
Thou shalt not hurt woman's feelings.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, that wasn't in my Bible. Okay. I'll have to work on I'll need to go edit my Bible here. Okay. You know, for me growing up in the church, watching these girls do this, it was, and we've talked before about, why men are leaving the church. And I want to say that this is a huge reason for it, because one of the things that I learned very early on, early teenage years, going to the youth groups in church, was it did not matter how wealthy I was. It did not matter how good looking I was or wasn't. None of that mattered. These women were not for me because they were not for anybody on this plane of existence. They were not for anybody in, like, yeah, they were for Jesus. And, again, I don't want to talk too much about the specifics of my childhood, but, you know, there were some things that happened when I was 13, 14, 15. I have told these stories to the guys over here. There were some things that happened that were some pretty, how should I say this, high value signals to a lot of women, that all these women go, oh, hey, maybe his family, and maybe, nope, nothing, not a
So,
thing.
what happened to those women as they got older? Where are they now?
Oh, okay. We're going to do this. So, okay. Two of the two clique leaders from my church, it was my Presbyterian church, we joined when I was 12, so that was when I would have been starting to be awake to women. Two of them are now married with kids, living pretty quiet, stable lives. The girl who was everyone considered the hottest, like everyone wanted her, also very much Jesus is my boyfriend, and Jesus still is her only boyfriend. Never been married, as far as I know, hasn't even done much with, boyfriends. Let's see. Then there was a friend group. So when our church fell apart, we went to a Presbyterian church. Our other friend group kind of went up to a different church, and I hung out with those girls a lot. Oh, okay, let's see. No, back to my church. Okay, there was another girl. She got married, and then she divorced the guy 4 years later so that she could find herself. And I'll be honest, she was not the best of looking, even when she was, I mean, she was okay looking, but she let herself go to find herself. Okay, and let's see, who were the other girl? Well, of course, we had the pastor's kid. She just wanted to fuck. And so she, like, okay, of all those girls, she was the least. The pastor's kid was the least likely to actually say Jesus is my boyfriend. Then the other family that we were friends with at the time, who also their church had a bunch of these girls. One of them is still unmarried to this day. As far as I know, because she blocked me on Facebook, she's never had a serious boyfriend. I said something to piss her off, probably something that remotely approached masculinity. And then the other girl, she got married. She was married for about 4 years. I don't know why they split up, because she didn't post anything on her Facebook. We're still friends. And yeah, those were the girls I grew up with. The pastor's kid from my church, she actually was married, popped out 2 kids, then divorced the guy. Again, it's always 2 kids. I don't know why. It's always 2 kids and divorce. And the stats on
But
this, they're out there, but
it seems like from your story that even though Jesus was their boyfriend, they still divorced.
oh yeah.
Maybe what? Oh, I'm not certain, but 2 of them might still be married.
2 of them are still married.
2 of them never got married.
Correct. 3 of them got married and got divorced.
Doesn't seem like having
Good odds.
Jesus as their boyfriend really had a great impact that changed the outcome for their lives compared to other women.
Well, and the interesting thing is the 2 girls who are still married were the least Jesus is my boyfriend. And one of them who's still married, I'm kind of surprised her family went through just a horrible cheating scandal. It actually shook the church apart, her on her parents. I think based on all that, she's just more looking for stability than anything else, and she's just not. She just doesn't. That happens to him sometimes. It's like, no, I'm not going to blow this thing up because I went through that. Um, and the other one, she always had strong fathers. She had her grandfather was one of the church founders. He was still alive when I was going there. He was in his 90s, so I doubt he is anymore. Her dad, another strong, you know, dad. And I'm not saying that the other girls didn't have strong. Well, actually, now that you say it, huh? Yeah. Strong father figure seems to matter a lot to this Jesus is my boyfriend thing. Seems to be a high correlation there.
How so?
Well, the girls who had strong father figures in their lives, they didn't really go too deep down the Jesus is my boyfriend thing. They're the ones who are
Okay.
still married. Um, yeah.
But the other thing we don't know is if they are happily married, where sex is still
Yeah, we won't know.
part of it, or not. We don't know that. There's a lot we don't know. But it
I'm going
seems
off
like
Facebook status here.
it seems like Jesus is my boyfriend. Spirituality is not the solution to the future. Doesn't seem like it's a solution to the population collapse because two
Nope.
kids and then divorce, or that's it. Doesn't seem like the future is down this avenue, which doesn't mean that the future is not in Christianity. Just means this, did we call it a heresy of Jesus is my
Yes.
boyfriend? Is that
It's an abomination,
accurate?
therefore it's a heresy. If it's an
Okay.
abomination, it's a heresy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I
she did not have her son as her boyfriend. That's oh my gosh.
Oh, sorry. I don't like that. Well, but
That should make you sick to your stomach. Think, yeah,
it does.
yeah.
Well, I think on a more on a practical level too. Yeah, it's not the solution to the population. Of course, it's not. You are not going to be the you're not going to be the next Virgin Mary, the carrier of the next Savior. Sorry, ladies, that ain't you. But also, when you set yourself up as Jesus is your boyfriend, you're basically saying, I'm a lesbo. Or I'm asexual, even. Like, I have no interest in men whatsoever. Like, you're not solving any problem. Like, list the problem, you ain't helping, you're just hurting. And I know this is a men's channel, and we're kind of talking to women here, but also, look, men, and we haven't talked about this too much. There's a lot of women out there who they don't say Jesus is their boyfriend. Jesus is my boyfriend is actually, yeah, a few women have said that, and then we the men kind of took it and turned it around and memed it at them. So it is a shorthand for saying these women who are so Christ minded that they're no earthly good. And so, you see a woman come into your church and she's on fire for the Lord, and that's all she can talk about. Oh, does this sound like some recent news? Maybe. Yeah, those women are just as worthless as from before they came into the church. They were worthless then. They're worthless now. They're nothing good will come of them.
Well,
because
why are they doing it? It's show. A lot of it's show.
Yeah.
What was the first command that God gave to mankind?
Go forth and be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, that was Genesis 1:28.
Yeah.
God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on earth." How can you be fruitful if you don't marry? Yeah, you know what? Have sex with your husband without contraception and give birth.
Steve?
Uh, you know what? You don't, women, you don't need to go get a college degree. God didn't command that. He said, be fruitful. Fruitful means fruit comes from your loins. Hey, you understand what's the most important part of your body and how you use that. Yeah, it is.
All the women understand
So
it. We know you know what it's
use
worth.
it for its intended purpose to give birth. And that's the greatest calling, the greatest thing you can accomplish. Not your education, it's not your career, it's your children. So,
And
your
there's
boyfriend is Jesus. I think you're kind of missing the point.
well, okay, but Steve, how could I possibly even want to have sex with this guy who is he's just not living up to Jesus's standard? Like, honestly, I'm thinking back to something you said earlier. I wonder if the reason that these women are so hateful towards their Christian men is they look at the man, he fails to meet up to this idealized version of Jesus that they built in their heads, and they say, "You're not that." But they want him to be better. It's like, but I want you to be better. I want you to be more like Christ. See, I'm helping you. I am being a good wife by nagging you to death.
No, no. 1 Peter 3. Be in subjection to your husbands. If any obey not the word, they may also without the word be won by the conversation of the wise. By the way, that conversation is older English. It means behavior because it talks about being quiet, a meek and quiet spirit. Yeah.
Right, but how could you want
What?
to have sex with somebody who is less perfect than this ideal vision you've been sold? Seriously, like it actually makes sense when you lay it all out, like why they're behaving the way they're behaving. It makes sense. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that they're fulfilling their the great call, but it makes sense.
Oh, but Nick, you're saying woman is called to be an example and part her legs
Hmm?
for one man who
Yeah.
may not be worthy, so she can be fruitful and multiply. Yeah,
Hey, Steve.
that's like blows my mind.
Well, Steve, did you just say that a woman can fulfill her mission in God and in Christ, even if the man doesn't, even if the man isn't?
Mm.
Oh, wait, Nick, isn't there salvation come from childbirth? Is there something in the Bible about that?
Yeah. It's 1 Timothy, I think, chapter 2. I take that as the working out of their salvation. That's their sanctification. Of course, Catholics use a different word, but that's fine. Uh, yeah, first let them learn some silence, blah blah blah. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety.
So, if she does her duty to her husband,
Mhm.
means even if he's unworthy, having sexual relations with him, giving birth to their child, she's saved by that somehow by being, oh, I
Yeah,
guess you'd call this
yeah,
in submission to her husband, even though he may be unworthy.
yes.
Well, Nick, didn't that
Man,
quoted
this stuff is mind blowing.
Well, and Nick, didn't that quoted scripture you gave you say even if the man is not a Christian and she is, like
Yeah,
that's the
1
whole
Peter 3.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so it's like not only the Bible, okay, ladies, the Bible, the Apostle Peter is saying that not only can your man be so, not only can your man be not Christ-like, he can be not Christian, and look what you still have to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if he's Christian, he gets to be treated like dog shit, apparently.
Well, because he's not living up to he's not Christ. Damn it. Fix this.
It's like damn. It's like damn. It's like I got treated better when I
A lot of no, that's actually true though. Oh, it's actually true.
The math does not compute.
Okay, my first wife, she was not raised Christian. We met through a Bible study that she joined through friends. She didn't join through a church. She joined through mutual friends. That's how we met. Yeah, it was a Bible study. Yeah, she wanted to learn, but she wanted to learn this. She didn't grow up with this. In retrospect, yes, she was looking to enter her purity phase. Okay, and yes, that's all true. But the point is that the woman who actually took the time to get to know me, out of all these women that I'm talking about, I grew up with them. I attended this church for goodness, let's see, from 12 to 24 for 12 years. 10 years. Well, 10 to 12 years, depending on how we count it, for various reasons related to my ex. Anyway, so we'll just go with 10. We'll say 10 years. I was in this church around these girls for 10 years. Only 2 of them are married today. Okay. Most of them are married and or divorced single mommies. Like, and the rest are proudly celibate. Okay.
Are you sure they're celibate or just not married?
These girls, well, let's see. I know one is because there's that girl she's probably has something actually broken in her head.
There are women out there who have who are absolutely asexual.
Yeah, there are, and now, do I think that all of them, the ones who are currently, who've never had a boy or never had a boyfriend, quote unquote, there are some who have very definitely had relations. That's not really my point, but like they're all sitting there, yeah, of course they all wanted the same guy. Yeah, high school drama bullshit. Fine, whatever. But they could have sorted themselves out. There was actually a reasonable balance among age groups in our, male to female ratios. Like it wasn't terrible. They could have. They didn't.
No. Hypergamy.
Well, here's another thing that could be happening. And I don't think this is intentional. I think this is an effect. When there are not enough men who meet your conception of Jesus and Jesus as your boyfriend, you just say, well, Jesus is my boyfriend, and you don't look at the rest of the men. It becomes a way to exercise your hypergamy, right? And so could one of those girls have, could we have paired off? Sure. I think of her name. I know the girl who would be, and her life would probably actually be turned out way better than it actually ended up turning out if she had done that, like we've talked about here. But she didn't, because I didn't meet that standard, because I was never gonna. And look, I'm not saying I was a perfect, teenager. I'm not, but I was never going to meet that standard, and I was never the pretty guy. And the pretty guys did get married, like they got women. But, and so, all these guys going, everyone's like, where are the guys in church? And I'm like, guys, or you pastors, I'm telling you, they're not showing up because you won't correct the women. We've said this before about other things. This is just yet another way that women sabotage themselves, and you enable it, because it sounds great to say, for a woman to say, oh yeah, Jesus, he's the perfect man. So they're not actually saying he's my boyfriend, but he's the perfect. If pastors and men, if you hear a woman say this, Jesus was the perfect man, run. Have nothing to do with her. She's already told you what she thinks of you.
Here's what it implies. Desire is bad. Infatuation is bad. Tingles is bad.
Yep.
No, bullshit. The sexual urge that causes men to approach women. A desire that causes women to spread their legs for a man. Okay, you're supposed to have discipline enough to use that urge to find the woman. She finds a man, they get married, they do the thing, they get married, they do the thing, they have kids. Okay, this desire. Call it, the men get an erection, women get tingles. God created that for a purpose. Not bad. Can be used for bad purposes. We know that.
Yep.
But the essence of that is not bad. So if you are asexual, okay, well, devote yourself to Christ. Not everybody has this desire. Okay, I'll grant you that.
That's true.
But don't call the desire in those that have it a bad thing. You need to use it for good purposes because it has a design. So this excuse, Jesus is my boyfriend, to try and demonize your urges, it's kind of wacky theology.
Well, it's another aspect of it that makes it an abomination. You're basically calling God's design evil.
Right.
Calling God evil is an abomination, unless I'm mistaken, Nick.
No, you're right.
Right. So,
He is good.
Right. And so if you're sitting, using, now you could argue that, these women do not have attraction for a lot of guys out there. And we see, everyone listening has heard us talk about that data before, the how women rate men. It's like, it's all, what was that? Men who are 7 feet tall were rated higher than men who are 5'10". That's how, just using a simple example, right? That's using God as an escape hatch for your hypergamy is not godly. Just because there aren't enough guys in the world to meet your exacting criteria for what a man should be, physical
princess.
physical or spiritual or moral, right? Doesn't matter. If you use your conception of Jesus and how he looks, how he behaves, all of this and it is your conception that Jesus as the boyfriend, people are creating a fantasy. The same compassionate Jesus is the guy with fire in his eyes and a sword coming out of his mouth, right? Okay. You are creating a fantasy Jesus and then saying, that's what I want my man to be. And then you are shocked and dismayed when good, godly men don't meet that standard. Duh. No man is ever,
Sherlock.
Yeah, exactly. No man's ever going to meet your fantasy Jesus. Jesus is, think about it this way, women. Jesus is perfect. And then you had to go add more on to it to make him, even more perfect? It's ridiculous. Look, if no man can be the perfect Jesus, how the hell is he going to be perfect Jesus plus perfect you, Jesus? female sophistry.
You go, girl. You go, girl. You deserve everything and more. If he can never talk mean to you, it's a boost.
A boost? Is that what we're
A
going to call it
boost.
now? A boost?
It's
Caboose, maybe?
bullshit. You said a
Right.
mean thing to me. Oh, and what do you think Jesus is going to say to you?
Many
Oh,
more
it might
mean
be
things.
worse. It might be worse.
Yeah.
Oh, he might actually correct you and more harshly than your husband if it's pretty bad.
Well,
Well,
A very
guys,
strong rebuke.
I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but I think the three of us are in a special category.
What
I don't know
asshole?
any other three men who can talk for over 2 hours on the concept of Jesus is my boyfriend.
yeah, I think there's a word for that. That's probably spurg, I think.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, this was a combination story time, and I don't know, maybe even a little bit from fire and brimstone sermon from Nick over there.
Yeah, I just can't stand this bullshit, man. Don't don't fuck with, don't screw with who Jesus actually is. Like that's theology 101. Don't Christology 101. Don't mess with that, man. Because you're really not worshiping Jesus. In fact, you have a twist. You might not be worshiping him at all, but a figment of your own imagination and calling him Jesus. And you actually might not be saved. You actually might be going to hell unless you repent. I mean, that's serious.
I hadn't even considered that. All these Jesus is my boyfriend women swimming in a lake of fire. That's certainly not how they see their lives ending. I'll tell you that. And I've talked to, well, you guys heard, I've talked to a lot of them. They do not see their lives. They are dead convinced that they are saved, that they are going to heaven. I've had one of them actually through which apostle was it who said it is better to be alone or like celibate, but if you can't get married to one woman. I don't remember who that was. I want to say it was Paul. Yeah.
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 I literally had one of these chicks throw that back in my face. Well, it's better for me to be alone and so because I'm so on fire for the Lord than it is. And I'm like, and I was just like,
That's
okay.
not what the verse said. If you burn for sex, get married. So you don't burn in hell.
Yeah. But
He's saying
they
she burns for the Lord. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's implied, but I don't quite get it. I'd have to go back and actually look at it.
He's on fire for
Some-
the Lord. She's all amped up, and
right. Yeah.
that usually comes and goes, guys. Like it comes and goes.
Yeah.
Like
it
but
does.
that's an emotion. That's an emotion. And I
Yeah.
distrust people who
Right.
use their emotions to promote their Christianity.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but it was in that context of she didn't need to. What she was trying to say is she didn't need to get married. She didn't need to have a boyfriend or even she didn't need any other boyfriend or husband than Jesus, because Paul said it was okay if because Paul said it was best to be celibate and basically and study the Lord, and she almost spat out and if you burn with desire, you should get married.
Okay, what were her fruits?
Nothing.
That doesn't make sense, because the implications of that verse are you devote your life to Jesus. It's basically saying you devote your life to the priesthood or pastoral ministry, you are serving others, and you're doing that, and you should have some fruits from that. Souls. If you don't go that way, you're going to do the marriage route, and you're going to have fruits from that, which are children. You choose one path or the other, but have something to show for it.
Well, what does the Bible say about women in the pastoral positions?
Well, they're not in a pastoral position, but they still can be celibate. And women have
I know.
had fruits by going
Yes.
in, the nunnery,
The
the
nunnery.
convent,
Yeah.
praying, serving, teaching. They can serve without marriage. I fully embrace that. I understand that. But to be a career woman and not marry,
which is what she
I'm
is
on
right
fire
now.
for Jesus. What the fuck? How is your life choice serving your master?
I actually, while I was quiet when it said, I went and this particular girl that I'm talking about, I went and looked her up on LinkedIn. She's the one who blocked me on Facebook. And let's just say that her LinkedIn has absolutely nothing to do with Christianity. Again, I'm not going to give away any details because I'm not trying to out anybody here, but her LinkedIn has nothing to do with any of that kind of thing. She's a career woman. She works for a living. This is what Jesus as a boyfriend has brought to women. Jesus is your boyfriend is feminist. It's feminist. It's a feminist way of convincing. It's the feminist way of convincing Christian women they don't need a man. Why do you need a man? You've got Jesus. And it works. It works really well.
Oh, what a sad state of things. We ought to lament. No, it should just pierce our hearts and we should turn and repent. It doesn't look like the church is doing that.
For me personally, because talking a lot about my church history, I don't know, guys, if this has sounded like a lament from me out there, from you two or our audience, if it sounded like a lament from me, it's because it kind of is. I grew up with this. I watched these women destroy themselves for this. And yes, the girl who threw Paul in my face, the girl who's LinkedIn is a litany of not Christian. Yeah. She's kind of my poster child for this when I talk about it. It's like there is so much that you could have been. And now you are, I mean, she's my age, so
she's post wall. She's hit the wall.
Oh yeah. Right. It's like, and now you will never be anything. And she would say that she's not feminist, good conservative rural background, but the feminists got her, and she doesn't even realize how they got her. And anyway, I don't need to turn this into yes, it's a lament, but I don't need it to be a depressing therapy session. I mean, because here's the thing. Here's the truth of it, guys. My current wife is prettier than all but two of those girls that I've talked about. And both of them, one of them's married, is going to stay married, and the other one will never touch a guy. So it was like, like for me, I'm doing great personally. But
you know what? Your current wife is probably younger than those women too.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is by a lot. So, like I said, I'm personally doing great. but the state of the church, that this has not only been allowed to happen, but has been promoted, but has been encouraged, is absolutely to be lamented.
Yep, they have eyes to see but don't see, ears to hear but don't hear. Their hearts are made of stone. And they're proud of their abominations.
They really are in this case. Like, they're really proud of this one.
They
Anyway,
Well,
the heart
I think
wheat
we need to
and
pull it to
sackcloth and
draw
ashes.
it to a close.
Yes.
You know, we're going to get some discussion of truths over on our minuscule corner of the internet. And we have what? How many? Three watching now?
20.
well, Twitter
But you have
showed up
some
big in
on
the last
Twitter.
hour. Yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, but I just want our viewers to get an idea of how few people are hearing or care to contemplate the things we're talking about. I don't care if you agree with us. I'm not saying that I think we're telling the truth, but yeah, that's up for you to decide. There's not a lot of attention paid to the things we talk about. Yeah, okay. Doesn't
Well,
mean I'm going to stop talking about it. Doesn't mean I don't think it's important, because I do believe it is. I wish more people would hear these things. Not out of a desire to become popular, because I really don't care. I'd rather not be popular. But I do wish these things were talked about a lot more widely.
one of our commenters, he, for time schedule reasons, can't join us during the live, but he watches afterwards, and he was talking about this in one of his comments here. I'm trying to see if I can't pull it up. It's not that one. It's we're actually getting. I've been responding to comments all day, so I've got one more. Shoe, I see your comment. It's not that one. It's Klaus. If you're out there, you were talking about, you know, it's not this video. It's the other one. It's the other one that you put a comment on. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to look stuff up here while I'm trying to hold a thought. Where did you put that one? Might have been this one. Klaus put a really good comment on here. Oh, yeah, okay, I found it.
Got it?
No, I didn't. Where did he put it? The problem is that Twitter hides them after I respond to them. So I respond to them and then it goes away. But he was basically saying that, look, the world is not against us, but it's like the world is fighting against us, and there's not a lot of men out there, who are even, the women, they don't like us, but even the men,
okay.
even in the men, there's so many men out there who are competitively trying to get what they can for themselves, that he said something like everything is trooping against us, like we, as men, we can't win. And I was kind of like, yeah, you're right, we can't win. We're not.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, yeah,
Maybe not right away. You never know. The odds we can't play the odds, because the odds are against us. You can't play
right.
the odds. Doesn't mean that victory is impossible, or perhaps it's not possible within this generation.
Well, and that's what I was
Nonetheless,
trying
we still have a duty. We still have a duty
yes.
to perform.
I'm trying to find it.
You know what?
Looking far enough back.
No one wants to listen to us, or few do. Few want to listen to us, and many tune in don't like what we say. Because the descriptors are the problem.
Yeah, the descriptors are the
Oh,
problem.
the truth's the problem.
Yeah.
And to those newly tuned in, it was a stream we put out there regarding the red pill. The descriptors of the red pill are the problem. Not the implications. It's what we say, the truth that's revealed. Oh, no, I don't want to believe that's true. Therefore, you guys are bad. No, it's really not that way. It's most people would rather be the ostrich, bury their head in the sand, than pull it out and look around. Oh, yeah, I guess that is true. So, reality does not negate Christianity. A
Well,
lot of people think it does.
And what I was
Or-
trying to say to Klaus was, you're right. There's not a lot of people out there who are talking about this stuff. There's not a lot of people fighting for it. But that doesn't mean there's nobody, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't. And we might even lose. Sometimes you don't win. But the question, I think, is, do you think you could live with yourself for knowing what you know and not fighting for it? Yeah, we might be wrong. We might die having never seen the turn, the repentance of the world, if you will. Yeah, we might. And it's going to be a harder path because there's so few men out there who are willing to fight for it at all. But look, it's either this or we keep talking about the embrace the decline. And why do I keep saying fuck the decline? Because the decline is going to terminate before I die. It's coming. It's coming at us like a freight train. The next 10 to 20 years are going to be wild. I have to live with whatever comes after. Nick has to live with whatever comes after. Steve, yeah, you probably don't.
Oh, wait. Can I enjoy the decline then?
It is an option for you.
Oh, great. I think I'll choose that. That seems like easier.
Oh, it is definitely easier. But Nick and I, we're the same age, roughly. We don't have that option. We have to live with whatever comes after. And
always the easy path is not always the best path or the right path.
Well, you know what? I'd rather go down swinging,
Right.
than look, I have my flaws. We all have our flaws. It's like, but if I go down swinging at the end of days, I'm going to look up and I'm going to say, Lord, forgive me for I have sinned. But I did try. I did the best I could. Like
you young guys who have to be around for the fight. Still, there's a place for us old farts who might have a bit of wisdom. And, I'd rather be on your side than out there enjoying things because that seems boring.
Well, Steve, to be fair, it only takes a few elders willing to look past themselves and their own hedonics to change the world. So at least you're here fighting with us. We do appreciate it.
It's kind of fun. You may see an old guy, but I don't feel like I'm that old. I feel like I've lived a lot of years, but I don't feel old.
No, that's good to hear. Because we do have plenty more to talk about. The world's going to keep on coming. And look, if nothing else for you guys out there, yeah, we want to give you, actionable advice. Why did we spend 2 hours talking about Jesus is my boyfriend? Well, we were talking to the church tonight, for one. It's like, okay, church, you need to get your house in order. And here's another thing that you've dropped the ball on. For you men out there who are in the church, you heard a lot of warning signs. Now, yeah, they were anecdotal out of our stories, mostly mine in this case. But, like you heard Nick talk about, the abomination of the entire concept. And so you can now take this forth and apply it to your life. And that's partly, guys, we're here to chat with you in the chat and be a support group for other guys out there fighting the fight. You're not alone. We're out here. Come talk with us and let's see what new ideas we can come up with. Let's see what new ways of attacking the beast we can come up with. I don't know, Nick, do you have anything to add to that?
It's good. Please share, like, and subscribe. Please comment. Please share this with your church elders.
Please do.
And how bad this ecclesiastical troublemaker is with his now curse words. Yeah, I probably didn't do it, but I don't give a fuck right now. So I'll get around to it. Yeah, probably next couple of years once I'm done.
I don't know. I think there's going to be a whole lot more things to curse at before we're done.
But what the fuck, guys? Jesus is my boyfriend. What pile of shit is that?
Oh, it's an abomination.
Yes.
So Saturday, we will be doing something. She has an idea she wants to work on. I think it's related to this one. Monday, I do believe we are doing a show on Monday, and that one is going to be. Oh, I forgot what I said it's going to be on. I have an idea for it. It's in the text stream, and I've got some saved Twitter posts. My brain's fried right now from this stream.
Yeah.
So, and then we will not be doing Wednesday because you all should be hanging out with your families, not us. I do believe we're planning to do one on the 30th as well. We have no idea what that'll be, but on January 1st, we will also not be here again because you should be hanging out with your families and not us. So, yeah, we will. We will see you all next Monday.
Okay.
Later.